G'day everyone, I'm Smokescreen and welcome back to another video, and welcome back to daily racing. This is not something I've done for quite a while, but I finally sort of got myself a bit of motivation. I sort of woke up one day and I was like, I might actually jump on the daily races and see how they go, and it kind of coincided with a brand new car entering the fray in Group 3. The latest Group 3 car to be added to the group is the Nissan Skyline Super Silhouette, Group 5. So it's a Group 5 car and it's slotted into Group 3. But that's the machine there. Boxy little car, isn't it? But I think it looks awesome. I love boxy automotive styling. It just hits different, you know. But this is Daily Race A. It looks like a Daily Race B. Oh, someone spun out instantly. So that's Supra proving to be a handful. But yeah, Daily Race A, it looks like a Daily Race B, doesn't it? But it's a Daily Race A. They seem to have reversed Daily Race A and B, so like the style of race that's normally Race B is now Race A, and Race A is pretty much always no DR SR updates, which is a new thing in Gran Turismo 7, which means you can basically ram the hell out of everyone without any consequences. Well, it does mean that, but we're not going to do that. But it essentially means we've basically got what was Daily Race B in GT Sport now is Daily Race A with no stress for DR or SR whatsoever. So if you don't have a second account, if you don't have a seal club... Oh, someone spun out the other Super Silhouette in the field. Yeah, if you don't have a seal clubbing account, you can just stick to Daily Race A, which seems to be these days some pretty good combinations. And the combination in question today is Mount Panorama. So we're at my home circuit in the brand new car, testing out this Nissan Skyline here at Bathurst. We're catching up to Punchmaster. I wonder if we can sort of return serve, if we can master a punch on him as he makes a complete hash down into the dipper. Around the outside of the dipper, you don't do that every day. We get a little bit of a poor exit. We'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, that's around the outside of the oh my goodness. Well, that move clearly wasn't on, and he's just done that to himself. Spins out on the inside, and that is the last we are going to be seeing of Punchman, or whatever his Punchmaster, or whatever his name was. But anyway, Nissan Skyline, yes, brand new car in the last update there, update 1.19. It's a legend car, you buy it for about 1.1 million credits, and it's in Group 3. The interesting thing, it's the oldest car currently in Group 3 at the moment, from 1984, and it drives a little bit differently to all your other traditional... Oh my goodness, someone else has spun out. That Supra must be a bit of a handful, eh? Couple of drivers proving that they aren't quite capable of handling that torque monster that is the GR Supra. But yes, a couple of interesting things about this car. It's not like your more modern Group 3 cars where you've got a racing transmission or racing gearbox and sort of a lot of aerodynamics. This car's a lot more simple, let's say. H-pattern gearbox, really high top end, masses of turbo lag. Yeah, it's a bit different, but it definitely wasn't the fastest car around here. Despite all the straights, it wasn't the fastest car around here. It was fairly decent, though. I actually was a lot more satisfied with it than I thought I would be. Definitely capable of a low 202 or maybe even a 201 in qualifying. But in the race here, we're sort of 203s, trending towards the end of the sessions when I get a little bit more comfortable. But yeah, it loses out on the exit of the corner because of the H-pattern gearbox and the turbo lag. So a lot of these corners here as well are either top end of second gear right in the turbo range of this car, or you're in the bottom of third gear, where you get no power. So just trying to balance the throttle can be quite difficult here. Catching up to Sun Peacher very quickly through here, and we had a slight little bit of a technical difficulty there, and somehow San Peacher's gotten behind me. Anyway, moving swiftly onwards. Yeah, I probably punted him. I know that was my fault, but yeah, moving on. We got past San Peacher. We caught up like a second to him in about 3 corners, so yeah, sorry San Peacher, my guy, but you got to be just shifted off behind me. But that's okay. We're going to continue on with this race. Well, it's not okay, but it's okay now. Another person's crashed. VIP Starism. It's a bit of a strange name. There we go. Has been dealt with, let's say, and has nosed into the barrier at the top of the mountain, and that promotes us up into 5th, where of course we started from the back. We're going to be hitting these races, we're going to be hitting it from the back today. If that doesn't, oh my goodness. Anyway, yeah, in the slipstream with the Volkswagen Beetle, we're up into 5th, and we're about halfway through the race. We're beyond halfway. Yeah, we're coming up towards the last 2 laps there. Oh, Phil McCracken, slow-moving AMG GT on the back straight, on Conrod Straight, has entered the fray and has kind of just balked Vlacci and myself. I was looking at sending it down the outside of Vlacci into that braking zone for the chase, but then Phil McCracken popped out of nowhere and sort of hampered my progress. But that's okay. It's now sort of almost a 4-car fight for second place. It is. We've got Mix Robot up in second, Leaky Bum. Geez, there's some interesting names in here today. We got Leaky Bum and Phil McCracken. But yeah, Leaky Bum up in the lead there. He's 15 seconds up the road, so we're definitely not going to be fighting for a win here unless Leaky Bum makes a large error. Maybe he might end up needing to run to the toilet, maybe. But yeah, as it stands right now, it's just a fight for second. We've got 2 laps to go. We're just going to be focusing on getting all the corners correct. The other thing I noted about this Nissan Skyline is that it's actually fairly understeery. The understeer physics in Gran Turismo 7 aren't quite as bad as they were in GT Sport. GT Sport, you turn the wheel, the tyres would just squeal, and you'd send the car basically straight on. Oh, we've made a mistake heading up through Reed Park there, hitting the inside on a crucial turn-in point at the top of the mountain. And that just puts me about 1.2 seconds off the back of that Volkswagen Beetle that it's inhabiting 4th position. Someone's grazed the inside. Oh dear, someone's made a mistake. Mix Robot off the head of this pack has hit the inside at McPhillamy Park and ends up eating gravel, and that's going to be us up 1 position. We've caught kind of back up to this Volkswagen Beetle. It would be a little bit more handy if we were a lot closer, i.e. we didn't hit the barrier ourselves. Phil McCracken runs a little bit deep, and Vlacci looking down the inside on the exit, and they're going to drag race side by side out of Forest Elbow, and you can see I lose out a little bit, but we're still about half a second behind at this stage, and as we head up into 5th gear, that's our slow gear change is done, and now we can just reap the benefits. So this car has really good top end. Like you're catching a matter of tenths at the bottom of this straight. I mean, look how fast we're closing down, straight down the inside of the Volkswagen Beetle. That's about half a second down Conrod Straight. So there's the number marker you've got to keep an eye out for. Half a second to the car ahead, and you can probably get an overtake by the end of Conrod Straight if you're driving the Nissan Skyline Super Silhouette. So with 1 lap to go, we've made up 2 out of the 3 positions up into second place that made up this quartet that we find ourselves in now. But with 1 lap to go and a 7/10 gap to Phil McCracken, it's not looking too bad. All I have to do is remain kind of close. He runs very wide out of Hell Corner, actually, so he's going to lose a little bit of time up this straight. So he's about 4 tenths ahead of me now. This straight's not quite as long as Conrod, so maybe I don't quite get the straight line speed or top speed benefit I do get at the end of Conrod here. But he goes defensive. I switch back to the outside to try and give myself the better line, but he parks it on the apex quite nicely, actually. And I don't quite have the power application in this car because of that turbo lag. I'm essentially, if I'm really low in the rev range, I get no turbo benefit and I get a really poor exit. This corner's difficult because it's so easy to spin out if you use second, but then the car just bogs down so much in third that it's definitely quicker to try and practice exiting in second. But we're still half a second behind, and remember, we have to be about half a second. Oh, we've made a massive error, just clattering the curb on the inside. I think it was turn 9, and we sends us out into the outside barrier along the top of the mountain. We now find ourselves 1.3 seconds off the back of Phil McCracken. Definitely not where we want to be, because that mistake might mean the difference between a second and a third. Mix Robot behind is lost out majorly. He's 3.7 seconds behind me now, so it's really just a straight fight for second. The leaders stretched out that gap by about a second further, or 2 seconds. It's now up to 17 seconds. We gained a couple of tenths by the end of the straight. The gap's down to 1 second to the car ahead. We maybe run a tiny bit deep into the chase, but we've essentially only got 1 more braking zone to try and catch up a second, and it's just not quite going to happen, I don't think, for us, as Phil McCracken takes the last corner quite well. We get on the power. There's no transgressions to report of, and unfortunately, off the back of the error that I made along the top of the mountain, it is going to be a 3rd position. But considering we hit it from the back, I'm quite satisfied with how I finished, and yeah, we find ourselves in the podium paying position of third. We're going to move on. We once again don't have a qualifying time. We're not quite at the back this time. We're ninth, so we have the highest DR out of everybody that did not set a qualifying time, and we find ourselves in ninth. We've got Rorschach behind. I have a little bit of history with him off the back of some daily racing back in GT Sport, but that's okay. 1.9 seconds. Oh, someone's made a mistake. Phil McCracken. My absolute G's made an error. I think maybe the part of the crack that we have to fill in is coincidentally a talent-sized hole. But that's one car that proved to be sort of a definite worthy contender for us out of the picture. We don't have to worry about him anymore. We do have to worry about this BMW M6 driven by Udaki Aliba, who runs very wide at the top of the mountain, so it does what we do, but thankfully we're on the other end of the stick this time, reaping the benefits there, and now we get all the downforce we possibly can down the mountain, which is really where we need it. Down the dipper, we upshift into third gear because we don't want to get wheel spin out of that corner there. We find ourselves in 7th, and then Sir Dids on the beginning of the following lap gets a really poor turn 1. We're going to use the slipstream here and perhaps get a move done up into Griffin's Bend. Using the slipstream, we do lose out on the gear changes because all these other Group 3 cars have that racing gearbox, which is essentially seamless sequential gear shifts, whereas I have a H pattern, which in this game is simulated quite authentically. The power cuts out, you lose power for about half a second while the clutch is engaged, but we get clean up the inside with a textbook overtake. Oh, the Supra once again proving to be a torque monster, and G3 not quite keeping it under control, so he's slow as we head up through Reed Park, which is a bit of a pinch point on the circuit. In fact, the top of the mountain, pretty much everywhere, is a non-overtaking part of the track, so we've essentially just got to hang behind. We don't take enough speed through turn 10 and end up hitting the inside barrier. Thankfully, we're intelligent enough to keep the car under control and out of the gravel on the right hand side, which you can find yourself so easily in once you hit the barrier on the inside of that corner, but it's okay as we head down the mountain towards Forest Elbow. 4 tenths ahead is G3, and we're going to be plenty close enough to try. Oh, someone else has made a mistake. Vlachi, I think that was, has spun out and quit the race, so now the position up ahead is for 4th instead of 5th. Sir Dids is right on my tail once again. I'm sort of getting, got held up by G3 quite a bit through the top of the mountain there, but look at the extra benefit of straight line speed, achieving a VMAX of 291 kilometers an hour, which is a great deal faster than a lot of other Group 3 cars. So where this car has the disadvantage in the gear shifts, it has the advantage in top end speed. Yellow flags out on the exit of turn 1. It's not Phil McCracken, it's a Phil McCracken imposter, Miko Racer. I think that person was either fighting for second or fighting for the lead up near where Leaky Bum was 11 seconds up the road. So Miko Racer's made an absolute hash of his progress, and he's no longer going to be fighting for the lead, and if Leaky Bum can keep things under control, he'll be quite convincingly able to bring home that first position. But we've got 1 lap to go, and we're looking at second position. And, you know, once again, we're looking to get to within that half-second barrier. They're driving the Ford Mustang up ahead. I'm not too familiar with that car in GT7, to be honest, but we're 6 tenths behind. We gained a little bit through Reed Park. We're going to gain a little bit through this flat-out section, slight little lift as we head over turn 9, over the crest through turn 10, and that's 4 tenths to Vipestarism, who ended up crashing or spinning out in the previous race, but they've managed to keep this car under control, although they are absolutely wrangling it down the S's there sideways every second opportunity it has. But that's a 4 tenths gap. Let's make sure we get it stopped for the elbow here. So easy to run deep, get a nice apex on the power, try not to hit the limiter, which is so easy to do. The limiter comes up pretty much right as the bar flashes at the end of second gear, but we didn't get the exit. Look at that, a 7 tenths gap to Vipestar. So that's really the H-pattern gearbox of my Super Silhouette proving to be the downfall there, and I'm now no longer going to be close enough to go for a sensational dive bomb overtake into the chase. Make sure we don't graze the grass. We do gain ground there, so maybe this Skyline has pretty good brakes as well. But that's a 3 tenths gap now as we exit there. Another difficult traction zone for the Super Silhouette here. We just fade to the inside to try and make him look behind and miss his braking point, but he's smarter than that. He manages to keep things under control, and he's going to be good enough to bring home that second position. And in fact, Miko Racer, who was fighting fighting for the lead earlier in the race, was just closing up behind me, maybe one extra lap, and I could have either found myself second or found myself fourth, or found myself last, I guess, if I spun out. But at the end of that race, once again, another podium. We're going to move on. We're starting this third and final race of the video today in actual last position, 10 out of 10. Quite low number of players for this daily race A here. I think we were getting a couple of people disconnect every connection session. I think you can probably have a maximum of 12 or even 16 players in this daily race A. Oh dear, the Supra goes a little bit wide. I run a little bit deep as well and almost hit the back of the Audi R8, but we get a decent exit out of the cutting there using the slipstream of this Audi R8. Got to make sure we don't fall victim to the dirty air that you also get. Oh, he gets a little bit out of shape up here. I send it up the inside and there's definitely contact between us, and the Audi R8 is shifted off to the outside barrier. I was a little bit more on the fence than I was in the first race when I bumped the Supra. At this point on the track, oh my goodness, there's been an absolute massacre at the dipper there. It seems as though this McLaren 650S has barreled in and taken out about 3 other cars, and he gets himself a 3-second penalty for his efforts, so that just consolidates to me. Oh, medium has spun out in the Ford Mustang, so we find ourselves pretty much up from 8th or 9th up into what will eventually be 4th once this McLaren serves the penalty halfway down Conrod Straight, which is about the worst place to serve a penalty on this track, so GGPD for picking that penalty gate point. But yeah, I was a little bit more on the fence with that, coming together with the Audi. My argument is that the Audi was out of control, so yeah, whatever happens there. Oh dear, Mecho Racer just copying what he did in the previous race, starting to get a bit of a name for himself for spinning out of the lead fight. But in this particular race, we find ourselves closer to the fight for the lead. Leaky Bum's out of the picture, which is probably for everyone's benefit. We find ourselves 2.6 seconds off the lead. We set a couple of consistent laps there, so by the end of essentially lap 1, we were up into 4th or 3rd, and then a few laps later, we had a massive gap up to 2nd, and then a few laps later, we managed to catch up that gap from about 8 seconds down to 2, so we're clearly one of the faster cars on the track at this stage. Not quite the fastest, as that honour goes to Mix Robot, who has the fastest lap of the race for 202.3. I'm confident I can probably get there if I absolutely nailed a lap, but it seems at this stage that Mix Robot is getting caught up a little bit too much in the fight with Dags for this first position, because despite Mix Robot having the best pace in the lobby, he's not been able to drive away from the Ford Mustang of Dags. But now we're getting ourselves into this battle here. It's soon got to be a 3-way fight for the lead on the final lap. So can we finally do a last to first challenge? We've been doing last to podiums. Hopefully we can do a last to first, but even better, our last to third, and try and get a last to second at least. But let's see how we go. Once again, Dags has hit the inside at turn 10. It just puts him slow on the exit, but there's nothing we can do. The downhill S's is not the place to go for a sensational dive bomb down the inside. So we're just going to be saving our attack for the back straight, down Conrod Straight, using the slipstream and the really good top end speed of this car. The Mustang goes a little bit deep. He definitely goes deep. We get a much better apex. We get on the power. There's a slight bit of contact between us, and once again, couple more bits of contact as the Mustang is sort of turning to the left into the side of my car. It's going to be to no avail though. He will get the position temporarily, but once we've reached the upper ends of the straight here and the upper ends of my top speed, I try to look down the outside. It's not really going to work, and actually I think that's been my problem now. I'm not close enough, and I've run into the back of him, and he's moving. He was angled to the right in that braking zone, and he just moved kind of in front of me after I committed to the brakes. So that is why we don't move in the braking zone. I do let him keep the position for one corner, but then he makes a hash of the final turn, so I decide we'll have a drag race up towards the line, and we get second. We get second by 0.003 of a second. So I finished 1.880 behind the lead. Dags finished 1.883 seconds behind the lead. But yes, I felt as though he moved in the braking zone there, and maybe I wasn't required to give up that position, but I felt better within myself if I did at least give him a chance to keep second. But yeah, that's why we brake in straight lines. So yeah, I think maybe I'm a little bit guilty of doing a diagonal brake as well, and it's not until someone's done it to me that I can see that's definitely not the right way to brake. But I'm also by the argument, if I diagonal brake or move in a braking zone and someone punts me off, that's got to be my fault. So Obviously, yeah, not ideal, breaking a straight line and that won't happen, but I'm comfortable about that exchange I had with Dags there. I think I gave up just enough to make us even, and we managed to bring home a second, not quite the win. On a different day we could have had that win there, but Nick's robot did a pretty good job from the lead there to try and keep himself under control and not falter under the pressure that Dags and I were putting on him. But that's going to finish up this video today. I think I'm going to bring you one more from the racing. I've got 2 more races I wasn't quite able to fit within the about 20-minute barrier that I like to put on these daily race videos, so keep an eye out for that. But as for this one, it's going to be the end of it today, so do hit the like button if you enjoyed, and do subscribe if you'd like to see more videos and streams from me. Do leave a comment as well, as questions, comments and constructive criticism, as always, very much appreciated. But that's going to be the end of this one today, and that means that is it from me. So once again, I do thank you very much for watching. See you later.